Hello again, welcome back to On a Storyteller's Night. I'm Nathan, joined as always by my co-host Josh.
Good day.
So how are you, other than busy? Because obviously we have not caught up much this week.
I've been absolutely busy dealing with family situations, relationships. My relationship. I've also watched both Alien vs Predators recently, of the ad speaking about the whole Alien and Predator franchise. I just wanted to watch them. They've both aged poorly, but they both aged like fine wine at the same time. But other than that, I haven't really been doing much. What about yourself?
Usual stuff, work. Although on the weekend, we did Father's Day a weekend early because Jack's working next weekend, my dad's working next weekend. So as a treat, what we did was went to that Korean barbecue place again. Korean barbecue and hot pot. Oh, it was good. Very much enjoyed it. That was on Saturday, and then Sunday we went to a Chinese buffet as well. So we had a weekend of doing nothing but eat. We were going to do the garden, but it kept raining, so we couldn't do the garden. And my parents were out, so we went out for food instead, and that was rather nice, must admit. And watched loads more Dexter because Jack is trying to get through all of it, ready to watch the new series because he's obsessed with Dexter, which I can't fault because Dexter's one of my favourites. So that's good, always good. And other than that, same games as been the previous week. I've got Car Dealer Simulator I've been playing, which is quite good, and Doom. So that's about it. Not been doing much else. Same boring stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a few Resident Evil to continue on. I've got the Walking Dead stuff to continue on with, and the Lego. I'm going to start with Jurassic World again because the third Jurassic World got announced earlier this week.
Yeah.
Well, last week. But yeah, I've got a lot to crack on with. And
yeah, me too, because I've got to finish doing Indiana Jones because there's a new DLC coming soon. Another story, so I have to do that. Also want to do the remastered Alone in the Dark because that's now on PS Plus, isn't it, this month?
Yeah.
So I've got to do that as well because it's a horror game. So I've got to do a horror game. So
I will tell you now, I have got a very, 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 very specific game ready to play because it went down. It went up from 40 quid to 50 quid, and then it went down from 50 quid because of the 33% discount that all PlayStation games had last week.
Yeah.
It went down to 13, 14 quid. I am getting that.
Yeah.
7 Days to Die is ready whenever you are.
Oh, yes. Can't wait. Me and Jack were looking at the PlayStation Store and I'm seeing what games are on PS Plus. Like, not the monthly games, but just the games you can play anyway. There was a game on there and I said, oh, look, that's free. I'm not installing that. Skull and Bones.
Really? It's free?
It's free to play at the moment because it's on PlayStation Plus, isn't it? Yeah, I had notification of it, and I was just like, nah, I'm not installing that. So I'm just like, nah. If it was like Sea of Thieves, it'd be like, hell yeah, let's play that.
Hell yeah, but got it.
Nah, I'm not interested in the other one at all. So yeah, screw that. Screw that game. Not playing that. So, 7 Days to Die, we'll have to do that soon. But we've also got to carry on doing, what's it called? I forgot what it's called. We haven't played it for like ages.
Dying Light
2, that's the one. See, forgetting what everybody.
The two games that we have yet to complete or in the middle of playing, we're in the middle of playing Dying Light 2, and we finished Leon's story on Resident Evil 6. Yeah. So we've got Dying Light 2 and Resident Evil 6 to complete yet.
I know.
I mean, that could be a talk for the Halloween live stream that we usually do around that time. We do as much as we can with Resident Evil 6 and 7 Days to Die, anything.
Yeah, see who else is joining us for it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I always get a 7 Days to Die for Jack. He's around and we can just do that because we all enjoy it. The 7 Days to Die was quite a good one to do on the live stream when it was good fun. That might be good.
I mean, I already know what I'm doing as soon as I load up that game, doing a multiplayer with you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to keep that quiet from you as well. Nothing too serious.
No, this is going to be good. I'm going to enjoy that. I said loaded up quickly just to see the difference, and I can see if it's changed much. It's still exactly the same type of game, but graphics and everything else is just so improved. It's such a much better game in every way, so that's going to be good fun. Right. Okay. We should probably get on with what we're going to get on with today. So, right. Considering the stuff we've been talking about lately, I thought I'd continue the trend of stuff we've been talking of. So, not all fantasy worlds are dreamy escapes. Some are nightmares dressed in magic. Today, we're breaking down which ones would be the worst to live in and why. So, we did sci-fi last time, so let's do some fantasy. Well, we have to, don't we? We can't leave it since we've done sci-fi and Alien and Predators and Transformers and Star Wars and Star Trek. We've got to do kind of Lord of the Rings stuff as well, don't we? Really, when you think of it. So I do have 5 criteria that, once again, we can assign 2 points to each.
Okay, criteria 1.
What we're going to do. So, monster mayhem. How deadly are the creatures? Are monsters part of everyday life or lurking in the shadows?
Okay, sweet.
Number 2, everyday survival. Can a regular person make it? Or are you constantly dodging curses, armies, or natural disasters?
All right. Next.
Oppressive power structures. Are you ruled by dark lords, corrupt kings, or unpredictable gods?
All right.
Okay. Access to magic or tech. Is magic helpful, rare, or just dangerous? Does it help normal people or only elites?
Okay.
Last one, random horrific death factor. How likely are you to just die because you're there? So
interesting.
5 ones I think kind of encompass a lot of the parts of kind of fantasy worlds and that sort of thing, isn't it? So
yeah,
I think it'll be a good place to start. Did you want to start, or do you want me to start it off?
I do believe I started last time we did when we did the sci-fi one, so you start.
Okay, then let's start with an easy one. The Witcher. That universe.
Okay.
So that's a pretty.
I have got Excel up, so I have got something proper for us.
Okay, cool. So Witcher. We all know The Witcher and the world that inhabits, both the books, the game, and the TV show, and everything else they do. So lots of different things. So for criteria 1, monster mayhem. Yeah, there is monsters everywhere, and there's schools for monster hunters. So yeah, there's a lot of monsters, and they're not nice ones.
No, so we're sticking with the 1 point for half, 2 points for full.
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
I think it's going to be a 2 for monsters, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's not a very nice place. There's lots of monsters of different types. Some in the shadows, some out in the open, affecting everybody. So yeah, it's not a nice place. Everyday survival. Can a regular person make it? They can.
Yeah, because I've played The Witcher 1 and 3. I haven't played the second one, but Witcher in the Witcher series, the only things that seem to be getting attacked by the monsters or creatures is people going out for trouble, or the witches themselves.
Well, but that's not quite the way it is, because monsters attack normal people in villages and all that sort of thing. So the monsters attack just anybody. That's why the witches are then hired by like the townsfolk and that sort of thing. So it's kind of anyone can be attacked by monsters and so on. But there's always like invading armies, and there's like war all the time and just chaotic stuff going on. So it's not going to be easy to survive, because you're either in the middle of a war or there might be monsters trying to eat your face. So I think it's not going to be an easy survival for the everyday person. Well, a lot of this kind of thing where there's lots of monsters attacking villages, then yeah, it's not going to be all fun and games, is it? And if it's not the monsters, it's all the different kings fighting each other, and you just might happen to get in the way of that, which is...
Then I'm willing to put down 1, because you're in those type of scenarios, you might just be in an absolute big, bulky kingdom that could very rarely be attacked by a monster, but it's also on the bridge of war, but you don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, if you're just an everyday person, then yeah, you might just be running a bakery or something. You may never see the conflicts. If you're in a bigger like town, like a walled city or something like that, you may never see it. So yeah, 1's fine. So oppressive power structures. So ruled by dark lords, corrupt kings. Yeah, corrupt kings all over the place. Let's be honest. That's kind of one of the big things. So I think it would probably be a 1. It's not so much of a 2, because there's a lot of outlying kind of towns and that sort of thing that aren't really that bothered about all the kings and all the differences. But there is a lot of kings and the wizard faction as well, which are always causing wars and battling each other and everything else. So I think that would be a 1 there as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Access to magic and tech. This one is an odd one. So
See, I'm gonna jump the gun and straight say 1, because not everyone in this Witcher world, like basic humans, aren't usually granted with magic.
But with this, the magic tech, is it helpful, real dangerous? Is this reversed? So if everyone gets magic, it's like, which way do we look at it as? Do you see what I mean? Because it's not, is magic a bad thing? If magic is quite good, does it help people, or is it just purely there to sort of harm people, and only the kind of the elite idiots in charge that just want to kill people for the sake of it sometimes have the magic?
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Because in some instances, if everyone has magic, then it may not be a 2 because it's helpful. But if nobody has magic, that could be a lot worse than there being a lot of magic.
Yeah, okay. I understand that now.
So I think it might still be a 1.
Yeah.
But we might have an instance where only like the people in charge all have magic and they abuse it a lot. And if you don't have magic, you're screwed. So that would then be a 2 if you don't have it. So yeah, I think for this would be a 1, but it's something just to kind of clarify that it could be either way, it could be a 2, whether there's lots or whether there's none.
Yeah, I totally agree there.
Yep. And random horrific death factor. How likely are you to die just because you're there? Well, not necessarily, because there's a lot of just normal people. So I think it's probably a 0 for that, because we've covered it kind of like monsters and the magic and the war.
If we're incorporating the monster mayhem and everyday survival, because they, like we touched upon, that a monster could just attack a random village. You could be that one person that dies from that monster. You're that random person. So I'm willing to change that 0 to a 1.
To a 1?
Over what we talked about last time.
Yeah, no, that's fine, because it kind of puts it all in the perspective in it. So it could be magic that does it. You could be caught between 2 armies and that sort of thing in it. So yeah, that's fine.
Well, that has left us with a 6 for The Witcher.
Okay,
now, you don't need me to say this, but I'm going to say it. The Lord of the Rings Precious is next, yes.
Yes, I thought you'd like that. That's why I wanted to do this one, because I figured give you a chance.
It's a nice little... Yeah.
Are literally everywhere.
Everywhere, too. Yeah, you've got orcs, you've got goblins, cave trolls, normal trolls. They're everywhere.
But...
Okay, here we go.
They're not.
You don't see... Do you know what? No, you're right.
You're not, because you go into Bree, you ain't seeing shit apart from the ringwraiths to show up.
Yeah,
you go any normal towns and that sort of thing. Nobody has a clue what the hell is going on in the wider world. They don't know about Sauron and Morgoth or anybody. It's not affecting normal people.
The thing is, when we speak about Monster Mayhem, when we spoke about the Witchers, like how big and how big the quantity amount of monsters there are, and I think it's the same for Lord of the Rings. We're not talking about they're monsters in your vision. It's going to be how many monsters are in the world.
That would be monsters that you may encounter. It's not how many monsters are out there, because, as we said at the beginning, it's like, are they everywhere or are they just lurking in the shadows? They're more lurking in the shadows. But when you think about it, it depends on which point in the history of Middle-earth are you looking at? Which age of Middle-earth are you looking at? Because the answer will be very different.
Very different, yeah. For simplicity, and for the listeners, we'll just base it off from The Hobbit to the end of The Lord of the Rings, because that's within a nice period. We won't go Silmarillion or earlier.
No,
that's just too much work. Otherwise, everything would be too.
Yeah. So if you look at that, it's like normal everyday people. So even if you looked at hobbits being normal everyday folk, they have no idea about monsters.
No.
They're not experiencing that. I said Bree, they're not experiencing that at all.
The only things
they're on the edge, so they may see the odds.
They may see them more
because they're right there on the edge. So
when we look at Bree and Hobbiton and any other little native place like Tom Bombadil, the only creatures or monsters they'll encounter is the odd bear, the odd wild wag, or a wolf.
Yeah, so there's
That's
not
it.
really a lot going on, is there? From that perspective, when you look at the world as a whole, and not just the journey the ring bearer took, you
It
wouldn't
is
see
the
them.
further east you go in Middle Earth, the more dangerous it gets.
Well, the closer you get to Mordor, isn't it? Because that's where everything is. If you stay away from
It's
Mordor and
either
don't go
there or
near it,
it's Mirkwood as well. Mirkwood Forest,
Mirkwood.
and
Fangorn
Mordor.
Forest.
Fangorn. That's where it starts getting heavy with the creatures.
So a lot of people would know about those areas, not necessarily the everyday person, but people will have heard stories about them. Obviously, the Rangers will be in and out of pubs and all over the place, so they'll hear stories of the places to not go. So on the whole, you'd avoid those places unless you had a dire reason to go somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm willing to put 1 for Monster Mayhem because, like you said, you don't think a normal average day person wouldn't encounter a monster unless you're Aragorn or Gandalf.
And if you
will
went somewhere or somebody showed up that's involved with some events, then you could potentially, find yourself in a bit of trouble with that sort of thing.
The thing is, if we went to the first or second age, we would be changing that 1
to
with
a 2. Morgoth and everything, there'd be so much happening.
But the third age and the beginning of the end of the second age to the beginning of the fourth age is just a 1.
Yeah, definitely.
So, what about everyday survival? I'm willing to put 1 down because it goes hand in hand.
I don't think it's 1. I think it's 0. I think it's, for the majority of people, life is just life. There's nothing out of the ordinary that's going to affect anyone. If you're a normal hobbit, you don't see dragons, you don't see orcs, you don't see ogres, you see nothing. You just eat 2 breakfasts a day, have your lunch, have your 11s, have your dinner, and you just have a nice, happy life. So you're not going to actually encounter anything that's going to make your life more difficult. There isn't a lot of disease and that sort of thing as far as we can tell. It's just an average place that has normal issues that people have. So I don't think survival is something that most people are worried about, unless you're in some kind of army or something, or part of the Rohirrim, or guards in Minas Tirith or something. Then life is a little bit more dangerous. But for the everyday average person, life is just kind of normal, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely agreed there.
So oppressive power
structures. There we go.
I'd put a 1 for the time scale that we're looking at. If we go further in the past, then it's going to be a 2. When you've got Morgoth and everything else happening, and Sauron at the height of his powers, that's quite an awful place to be. But the current state of things, when the ring is hidden, there's not a lot going on again, is there?
Yeah, because Sauron is hiding in his tower in Barad-dûr. He's hiding there. He doesn't want to come out until the ring's been delivered back to him.
Exactly.
He only makes a appearance twice in the book. And that's his full form. Otherwise, in the films, that full form that we know of is the Eye of Sauron.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it comes to oppressive power, the only big warlords or people with power is Sauron and Saruman. You can't put.
But Saruman was kind of, until everything started kicking off. So between the Hobbit and Fellowship of the Ring, he was kind of a good guy, sort of.
Yeah,
he was one of the wizards. So
the thing is, in between the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, yes, he was. But at the end of the Hobbit, all the way to the end of Lord of the Rings, he was the union of the two towers. He just didn't announce it yet.
Yeah.
He was he went to go and speak to Sauron.
Everyday people,
no one knows.
No, because he kept away in his bloody big tower, didn't he? So
because to normal people, you think of like oppressive power in Minas Tirith is Steward of Gondor at the moment.
Yeah, Denethor.
Or in Rohan, you would think,
this is
Rohan. We've got history, but there isn't anything big here. But if you're going down the routes of the elves and Dark Lords and wizards, it's completely different. So it does come back to monsters and everyday survival. Like the average person won't understand it.
No,
So
exactly.
I'd say a 1 there.
No, I'd put it at 0 because it never affects normal people.
But it's there. The power is there. Just
It's there, but it's not affect. Nobody is aware of it because we're talking about the experience for a normal everyday person living in a village or a town.
All right, so we're sticking to average human in that
average
world.
Human,
Average
like we
human.
did with the sci-fi, just an average human that happens to live in that place at that time.
All right, so I'll agree to 0 then.
Yeah, just because the normal average everyday person, Mr. Butter, whatever his name, I can't remember. What was his name? What was the name of the bloody guy in the Prancing Pony? Forgotten his name.
What, the bartender?
Yeah, what's his name?
Bartender in the Prancing Pony. I know his name as well. Barliman Butterbur.
See, Butter. I knew it was Butter something, but I couldn't think what. Yeah. But, okay, next one. Access to magical tech. Is it helpful, rare, or just dangerous?
I'm going to say 0 because if we're talking about a generic human, you ain't getting no magic.
And most you'll see is Gandalf with his fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
So magic is a bit of a kind of joke. Oh, very funny. The wizards are more magicians. They're not actual wizards. They just do little parlor tricks and stuff. So yeah, there's nothing. And the random horrific death, not really. Again, there's nothing
I was about to say
nothing
out of ordinary. Wow.
So Middle Earth is quite a nice place to live.
in the Third Age.
Yeah, in the Third Age.
Kind of.
No.
So that leaves the world of Tolkien, the Lord of the Rings, with a 1.
Yeah, that's not bad. So it's quite a nice place. Quite surprising.
Not at all.
Right. Let's carry on with a similar kind of level. Mm-hmm. Westeros, the Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
So, monsters. Once again, it depends which part of the storyline you're in. We're not going to go back in time. We'll do just Game of Thrones. Yeah.
We're not involving the House of Dragons, no?
No, God, no, because I won't watch that because it's a prequel and you know my thoughts on prequels. I won't start on that again. But yeah, no, it's just from Song of Fire and Ice onwards. We'll count the TV show because obviously he hasn't bothered writing the rest and he's never going to write anymore.
No.
He's not going to bother. We know that. It's never going to happen. So we'll take the TV show as crap as it got to. We'll take that. So we've got
in that case,
dragons and everything else and the undead.
Dragon, White Walkers. But this is the problem. The only big monsters that you see are the dragons and White Walkers, and the White Walkers is all up north.
The White Walkers, yeah, but I think it's going to be at least a 1 because of the danger of the dragons, and they did go across a lot of Westeros when you look at it, and she was like destroying every damn thing in a way. So it's not a nice place. Plus,
and the thing is, in that world, the word of dragon goes around quicker than
because people fear dragons. That's the thing. They've got a lot of fear of them because of what happened previously. Another thing I'll mention that I'll add into monsters that could raise it up a bit are the assassins. The nameless people and all that. Because there's a lot.
Face and stuff,
Yeah, there's a lot of that goes on. And so I think, it goes in kind of hand in hand with the constant war and all that sort of thing in everyday survival.
Not a lot of people know about the White Walkers. Not a lot of people know about the assassins, but a lot of people know the dragons.
Yeah.
Out of the 3, one of them stands out. The other 2 you don't really hear much of as an average person.
Not as an average person, no. Not until things start kicking off and they start conscripting everyone to join armies and you have to do this and battle these dragons and battle these White Walkers. That's when it starts near the end of the story when more and more people are getting pushed into helping the army sort of thing. So a little bit later. So I think it's going to be a 1 because most people don't see much of it, but they do know the dragons there and everyone's kind of scared of what could happen. And look what happened at King's Landing. Let's be honest, pretty much everyone was murdered by dragons. So
pretty much everyone there.
Yeah, exactly. Everyday survival. Can a regular person make it, or are you constantly dodging curses, armies, and natural disasters? It's horrendous. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
There's always some kind of fighting between the different houses, and depending where you live, depending which house and how often you get attacked. So I think everyday survival is kind of dreadful. And there's disease, there's famine, there's lots of stuff.
I
So
mean, if
probably
we're...
a one, or it's definitely one.
The thing
You
is,
could argue for two.
I'm going to say two because in comparison, Game of Thrones, in comparison to Lord of the Rings and The Witcher, Game of Thrones, from what we've seen throughout the show, when it comes to like diseases and stuff like that, it's more prominent. It's a very, very bad hygienic world.
Yeah,
only
the
royalty
and stuff like that. You get basically turned to stone. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, the only groups in Game of Thrones that don't seem to suffer from diseases and stuff like that are well, the royalty families, the houses. Otherwise, if you're living down the slums at the bottom of the kingdom, you will be prone.
Yeah, well, you look at Joe Mormont, people like that. He got affected with great scale. Yeah, he got cured, but he had it, and he was like around kings and stuff most of his life. So, not a good place. So that's definitely two. Put that as a two. Oppressive Power Struggles. Yeah, that's a two as well, because all the
so many houses,
are so awful, all of them, that you just get caught up in the middle of it, and they'll just murder you at the drop of a hat just because they want to. It's an awful place to be in that. Absolutely dreadful. So that's another
access to magic or tech. See, I think it's one of those. I think it's more of the Lord of the Rings situation than it is The Witcher, because The Witcher you have you see a lot of it. In the Lord of the Rings, like we agreed, you only see magicians or wizards.
Yeah,
in Game of Thrones, you don't see much of it.
No, you don't see a lot. The only magic really are some of the magical creatures that create the White Walkers, and that lady who is really old but pretends she's not and does weird stuff. So there's not a lot of magic actually around. Tech, a little bit.
Yes.
Delve into that a little bit more when you've got things like the fire that they use that will just, it's like napalm and it'll just burn constantly. That sort of stuff is dreadful. But it's not that everyday people will be exposed to the magic and stuff, I don't think. At least not initially. Later on a little bit more, but initially no.
No, agreed there. Random horrific death in Game of Thrones, you're prone. I'm going to say two.
Yeah, because at the whim of any of the ruling classes or a dragon that's flying over is hungry, there's so many different things that can affect you. Yeah, you could just drop dead for any reason, especially in the first couple of books. In the later series, it just got a bit stupid when people can fight off hordes of zombies by themselves and not die. It's just got stupid. But yeah, normal average people, you ain't got a hope of you. Anything can happen to you at any moment, and nobody cares. That's the big thing. Nobody really cares about you whatsoever. If something happens to you, they're like, oh, well, never mind, get another one. So yeah, it's an awful place.
Well, that leaves Game of Thrones to be our highest yet with 7.
7, Jesus.
Well, I'm going to go right up next and go off the rails a bit, but keep it in the fantasy stage. The Monsterverse, Godzilla, King Kong, Ghidorah, that Monsterverse.
That Monsterverse.
Monster Mayhem. 2. We agreeing there?
No, I'm only saying a 1.
Really? Why 1?
Because if you don't live in Tokyo, you ain't seeing shit, mate. Let's be honest. In the UK, we ain't seeing no monsters. Nothing's coming to us, mate.
Bear in mind, we're talking about that film franchise, not real life, mate. Because a lot more of it happens. A lot more happens in the States than it does anywhere. Like Americans always think.
Yeah, a certain amount of it, but I mean, on the whole, it is like America. It's not worldwide. It tends to be in like certain places. So they're definitely horrific. Most of it is, but not for everybody isn't experiencing the same level of that. I said, we ain't having Godzilla knocking on our door or any of the others. They ain't coming anywhere near us. How Godzilla can stand in the ocean as well, we won't even get to that weirdness. But yeah, he's either Tokyo if it's a Japanese one, or he's in America if it's an Americanized one. There's never anywhere else, never in Europe, anywhere. So we're fine. We won't see any of this stuff.
All right, well, I'll put a 1 down.
Everyday survival, can a regular person make it? Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, I'll put a 2.
2.
Because, yeah, I'll put a 2 because of what you said about the monster mayhem and the monster value in the Monsterverse. You don't usually see it in Europe, Africa, South America. It's Asia, Oceania, or the States. And everyday survival, the majority of population will survive.
Yeah, so that's not a 2 then, is it? 2 would be it's all.
Oh, well, yeah, majority, I did say, so 1.
Yeah. Oppressive Power Structures, not so much.
You've got Treyarch, not Treyarch, that's a game company, Josh.
Yeah, tried that. You've been playing the Call of Duty, haven't you?
No. What's that? It is the company. There's 2 companies in this franchise.
Can't think.
Neither.
In a while.
I just because I can't remember, I'm willing to put 1, but there is a fair few.
Yeah, but once again, it's
power structures in there.
Yeah, it is once again depending where you are, isn't it?
Yeah.
So a 1 at the most. Access and magic and tech.
Tech, I'm going to say 1.
Yeah.
Because, actually, light bulb. When you say access to magic and tech or magic/tech, is it 1 point for one of them and then 2 points if there's both of them?
It depends if it's. This is where the clarification. It depends if it's bad either way. So it's either bad that you don't have it or bad that everyone has it. So either way can be a 2. If nobody has it but you need it, then it's horrific. If everybody's got it and that makes the world dreadful, then that can be a 2. So it depends which way. So we'll have to decide on which way it goes for what's available. So
when it comes to magic, we've only seen magic in the Monsterverse in Kong X Godzilla, the most recent film. But when it comes to tech, we see it all franchise long, especially in the later films, like the gauntlet King Kong has. Mecha Godzilla, the tech evolves and it gets more frightening.
But it is only the monsters that have
that get it,
in the areas that they're going to be.
So a 1?
A 1 at most, yeah.
Yep. Random horrific death. See, random is the key word there because I don't want to look up and see a big monkey footprint about
it's going to be a 1 because once again you have to be in the area that it's going to happen for you to be squished by something.
Yeah, agreed there.
Yeah,
so that means
1s, yeah.
The Monsterverse all 1s. That makes it a 5.
5. All right. I'm going to go for a kind of open one because I think we can't ignore it, and that's going to be just generic Dungeons and Dragons, as in the Dungeons and Dragons world. So obviously it encompasses a lot. So we could go with the movies, cartoons, games. There's lots of different things we can cover, but just generic Dungeons and Dragons. So we'll go for like monsters. The world is full of monsters.
Yeah,
no matter where you are.
Corner.
If you're in a town, there's going to be monsters in the sewers, and there's caves, and there's everything else. So there are monsters everywhere, and a lot of people are monsters as well. So it's not a good place, is it?
No. So straight up 2, because every corner in Dungeons and Dragons is
there's always monsters.
Every corner.
Kidnap people, eat people. That's why you need heroes to go on quests down in the dungeons and kill all the people and rescue the fair maidens and whatever else. So, yeah, definitely. Everyday survival, can a regular person? Yeah, most regular people can. So I think it's a 1.
Yeah.
Because there's always the chance that you're going to be the one that these orcs are coming for or decide to grab you and take you down to the cellars. So, yeah, there's always a chance it can happen. Oppressive power structures. Yeah, because you get the evil wizards, you get the dark lords,
you've got the orc clans as well.
So, you've got all the different factions, plus the human ones to worry about, and the corrupt kings that have got demons in their back pocket and all of that, and just don't care.
Yeah, let's put a 2 there.
Yeah, it's an awful.
It's everywhere.
Place. Yeah, magic and tech. Is magic helpful? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it rare? Not that much.
Really.
Is it dangerous? Yes. Does it help normal people? No.
No. It doesn't.
It's only specific people have access to magic. So the higher classes, it tends to be a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. The wizards tend to be the kind of highborn and that sort of thing, or elves and other creatures not human. If we're looking at the point of view for a normal human, magic is frightening. Magic is awful. You don't want to have anything to do with it because you can't do anything against it. Some idiotic wizard, as they tend to do, cast fireball in the middle of a pub to kill one orc and ends up murdering the entire populace of that pub. That's what stuff happens in. And let's be honest, you always get a player that just goes fireball and lets it off in a room full of people. So I think magic can be a horrific thing for people. So it's a one or
yeah, because it is splash damage there as well.
Yeah, exactly. They can do anything. They blow up buildings. They do it in the sewer, and it blows up all the sewage works. And anything can happen to people because of magic. It's unpredictable, especially in Dungeons and Dragons, because you have to roll for intelligence and everything else. It can cause so much mayhem.
Because if you're doing the full in-depth roleplay, you have a 20-sided die. Anything above at 15 to 20, you miss and cause splash damage.
There's also it tends to be the lower numbers you miss.
Lower numbers, but
and if you roll a 1, then everyone's
screwed. Yeah,
one, that's so I think that's an awful thing, magic and stuff, because it tends to be in the wrong hands, isn't it? Let's be honest.
So we're sticking with a 1 on access to magic.
Yeah, I think
and tech. All right.
We could argue for 2. I think 1's safe because not everyone's going to be exposed.
Everyone has it. No,
if
not everyone has it.
Well, not just everyone has it, but it's how exposed to bad magic are you going to be? And not necessarily depending on where you are. You might be in a town, or said, you run a shop or something. You might be okay. If you're in a tavern, it might be a little bit more dangerous. If you're a guard on a wall or something like that, then you're probably going to face it horrific. Yeah, 1's quite good. And random horrific death factor, that's quite possible. Once again, for magic and creatures. So I think possibly a 2.
2. I agree there, mate. I agree. So Dungeons and Dragons leaves us with 2, 4, 6, 7, 8.
8. I thought it would be quite high.
Well, my next one is Pacific Rim.
Knew you would.
Yeah, David, I've got 3. I've got 3 in my head at the moment, and 2 of them were kaijus. So, Monster Mayhem, I'm going to say 2 because it's everywhere. You have it everywhere. It's not just the United States. Yeah. It's not Tokyo, Japan. The whole premise of Pacific Rim, it happens to the whole world.
Yeah,
it's Pacific. So I'm going to say 2 because of how many kaijus and the fact that they've got different levels of sizes and weaponry on the kaijus to give the humans rankings for them. That says more than enough for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Everyday survival. I'm going to say. I'm tempted to say 2, but I'm going to say 1.
No, it won't be 2. 1 because
I'm going to say 1.
Coastal, much more difficult. If you're inland, like say you're living in the middle of Texas or something, there's like the chance of having a kaiju show up because they mainly come out. They come out of the middle of the water, don't they? Pacific. So if you're miles away from that, the chances of finding something is a lot.
I mean, the UK is screwed.
Oh yeah, well.
So yeah, 1 for everyday survival.
Oppressive.
There's only 2 here because in Pacific Rim at the beginning of the film we are told in the prologue that the world came to peace and banded together.
Yeah,
that's humans, and then you've got the aliens inside the breach. They are their own thing. So there's only 2 really. Yeah,
so it's not oppressive in that way as such, is it?
No, so it's literally 1v1, one group versus another. It's nothing too big at all, so it's going to be 0.
And the average everyday person, they just watch the news and see what happens and maybe evacuate. There's nothing like beating them down and controlling their lives in that way. So yeah, I think that's fine.
See, now access to magic and tech, I'm going to say there is no magic in this franchise.
Unless you count the kaiju as kind of magic, their ability. For the average person, that could be like magical, but
But to them, it's the way they're made. They're made like that. But when it comes to tech, it's the humans that go into the Jaeger program or the company that runs them, that the only tech you'll see is the Jaegers.
Yeah, so the average everyday person isn't going to
Won't have
be
it.
experiencing anything at all.
No, so it's going to have to be a 1.
Yeah.
Random
It's
horrific
there and it's
death.
different.
I'm saying
1.
2 because you don't. I'm going to say 2 because
I don't
even
think
though
so.
that. But even though that you have everyday survival as 1, and you like, if you're inland, you're happy. If you're on the coast, you're screwed. But random horrific death, you don't know where the kaiju's coming at all. It could happen in the States. That's random horrific death if you're in New York. But
how likely are you to die just because you're in the world? That's the thing. Is
you know what?
How
1 on that
likely
premise.
are you? Because that's the thing, is how likely, out of a population of 7 billion, how likely are you as a person? Like, what percentage chance do you have of being somewhere when something happens? Not necessarily that high. A 1. It's not going to be over 50% chance of something happening to you, is it?
No.
Out of 7 billion people or whatever.
So I'll agree with the 1 there. And that brings Pacific Rim to a total of 5.
Okay.
And that's drawing with the MonsterVerse itself.
Yeah, I figured it's kind of similar, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, very similar. Right, I'm going to go for a very silly one, which will not score very highly, I don't. Harry Potter. Got to include Harry Potter with all the talk at the moment with good old Draco Malfoy, which I think is really cool. You know about Tom Felton at the moment, yeah?
No, not at the moment. What's going on?
Oh, you know the Cursed Child Broadway show?
Yeah.
He's being Draco Malfoy in it.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's amazing. And you see him like in costume, and he's got like the long blonde hair and everything else. And it's like, oh, that is perfect. So everyone's hoping now he's done that, will he go into the TV show and be Lucius Malfoy?
Oh, yes.
Now imagine if they had all the original cast come back as their parents. That would be the perfect way to make the TV show. It's not going to happen. Daniel Radcliffe just doesn't care, and nor do any of the others. But Tom Felton, I think, would be up for it, and that would be amazing. Imagine if it was Lucius Malfoy. Oh my god, that'd be brilliant.
I'm not going to watch it, but if any of the main cast return at any point, I will give it a go.
I think it'll be interesting to see what they do and how closely they do to the books. But they've got to do a lot closer to the books because each book is a series, isn't it? So they should be able to include all the bits that they had to cut out. So I think it'd be quite interesting. It might be quite good. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. See what they do and how badly they screw it up, I suppose. It is.
All right. Well,
after all. So
let's crack on.
Yeah. Monster Mayhem. How deadly the creatures? Right. So we have to decide.
Actually, think about this. Yes.
Are we looking for the point of view of a muggle or someone in the magical world?
See, considering that you've chosen Harry Potter, we're gonna have to go a magically gifted person.
Not necessarily a magically gifted person, but somebody born into that world.
Into the magic world.
Still be a squib and have no magical abilities, but be stuck in that magical world. That'd be a worse position to be in if you're a squib and you're surrounded by all the magic and you don't have any magic. Then that'd be a much worse position to be in, wouldn't it? That would be dreadful.
Well, let's just focus on the witches and wizards.
Generic, you're in the wizarding world, whatever level of power you've got, you're in the wizarding world.
Yeah.
So how deadly are the creatures? Are they part of everyday life? Monsters, not so much. Creatures, yes, but they're not all dangerous.
No, because when it comes to monsters, when you think about Harry Potter, you think of the dragon, the werewolf, the shapeshifters in general, the Death Eaters for Azkaban, and
Dementors.
Dementors, you have all of the...
There's a lot of them out there.
But you don't necessarily encounter
them, no. But you know they're there. And then there's things, obviously, like Voldemort. You could kind of say that he's more on the kind of lines of the monster, because he creates that fear and everything else, and that's a big problem. So I think it's kind of a 1 because they are there, and if you don't,
you wouldn't encounter it, because if we go back,
you would though. But every single magical person would have been to Hogwarts.
Yeah, but the thing is,
and being told to not go there, so you're around it and you're aware of it. I think that's what the distinction is. You're aware that they are there, and you've been taught how to avoid them.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the key difference there, that you're taught in Hogwarts and the world of witchcraft and wizardry to ignore or completely skip over the monsters. You'll just leave them be. So I'm going to agree and say 1 there.
Yeah, 1, because there is a potential, and if there is another rising of Death Eaters, then the monsters come out more, because they do have giants and trolls and dementors and everything else as part of their armies. So there is a potential
you've got
to go over the top in that.
Bear in mind, we need to think about the silent ones. We've got, like I mentioned earlier, we've got werewolves and shapeshifters. They stay silent. We've got the basilisk. Yeah. We've got I forgot the spider's name.
Aragog.
We've got Aragog. Who in Hogwarts knew about the spider? Only the teachers.
Well, they didn't know what it. They didn't know much about it, other than Hagrid brought it on board. But that was because of Tom Riddle told them that, but they never found Aragog. They didn't know what Aragog was. They just knew that he had a monster. So none of them knew about Aragog and the spiders. So,
but they knew that there was something.
They knew it was something, but they got misled on what it was. Yeah.
I'm just surprised that Hagrid never actually folded and told all the teachers it was a big ass spider, guys.
You're forgetting something.
Go on.
He's a bit thick.
Yeah, true.
So, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, you shouldn't have, mate. Oh God, it's like he's Tom Holland in a Marvel movie, isn't it? Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
Right. So everyday survival.
I think that's a 0.
That's a 0, yeah.
It's fine because you've got abilities, you know where to avoid bad things. So unless there's another uprising, most wizarding families and so on have got a pretty easy life. There's not much that they have to worry about, is there?
No.
For survival, you've got everything. You don't even have to do bloody day-to-day chores. You've got bloody magic to do it for you. So that's pretty easy. Oppressive power structures. At times, there has been.
There has been.
Like
but...
when the Dark Lord takes over, and that's like once every 50 years, and it's happened in the past. So I think it's going to be a 1 because it has happened. It will happen again.
Yes.
So there's always somebody that'll decide they want all the power. So I think it's always there. Otherwise, they wouldn't need the auras and stuff like that to actually police magic and everything else. If there wasn't, something could happen and people turn bad and decide to do what they want. So there's always something there in that.
Yes, agreed.
Access to magic and tech. Everyone's got magic.
Everyone, and if we're talking about the people with the world of magic, so magic and tech is going to be 4 points.
No, once again, it depends how you look at it. I'm going to say 1 because it's everywhere, but you've also got it. So the bad guys have got it. You've got it as well. So it's there, and it's but access to it. But that could also be good and be a 0 if everyone's got it and there's never a problem. Like if you're living in a world where magic is wonderful and it helps your everyday life, tech is wonderful, helps your everyday life. You wouldn't put it 2, you put it 0. So I think
1 works
because you've got it and it's useful to you. But
you've got people who are using it for worse things.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Random horrific death. No, that's a
0. You wouldn't randomly just get killed. It would be a spark of a battle of war in this world.
You've done a spell wrong.
That
his mum died from doing a spell wrong and blew herself up. So that kind of thing happens, but it's rare because people go to school to teach them how to do magic. So it reduces the risk of that happening.
Well, Harry Potter is our second lowest scorer, second to Lord of the Rings.
That's ridiculous. So it's nicer to live in Middle Earth than it is in the Harry Potter.
That doesn't seem right. It don't seem right, but we'll roll with it.
We'll roll with it. It's what happens in it, you know.
Well, my next up is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
So, Monster Mayhem. It's a 1 because you've got all of these old wives' tales like Davy Jones, the Kraken. Then you've got the skeletons from the first one, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Every single film that we have in Pirates of the Caribbean had some sort of monster or creature, some sort of one.
Exactly.
So I'm going to say
even the one
there.
that didn't really have much. When you look at the one with Blackbeard, I think there wasn't any monsters. Yeah, but there were, because there were mermaids.
Exactly. There you go.
Each one has one, so there is a potential there. Yeah.
So we'll put one for Pirates of the Caribbean and Monster Mayhem. Everyday survival. Now this is where I'm going to put in history. History. In that day and age, horrific place.
Oh, yeah.
It was dreadful.
If you're on a boat, you're probably going to get scurvy. You're going to get something else, or you'll get eaten by something. Yeah, it's dreadful. There's rampant disease, and just everything is just awful. Yeah, it's just
because in Pirates of the Caribbean, we don't actually get to see or hear of it that much. But from common knowledge, as for pirates, that is a bad time to be.
Oh yeah, pirate. It's dreadful. Dreadful.
I'm willing to say, just for Pirates of the Caribbean, 1, because it is a bad place for diseases and colds and stuff, but in the films we don't really hear much about it.
No, they kind of avoid that side of it quite a bit. So
Oppressive power structures. I'm going to, from my perspective, I'm going 1, because you have Davy Jones, but he appears...
Yeah, but he's only there every now and then. He
appears every so often.
But you've got the East India Tea Company, who are dreadful. And if you've
got Indian Trading Company as well.
Yeah.
You've got basic pirates. You've got
just a lot of not very nice people around.
Nice people, no. So it's going to be a 1.
Yeah. Magic and tech, not really.
I'd say, but this is access to. This is for an average human. We're speaking about. No, not really. If we're talking about a pirate in this day and age, yes, I might have said 1 because of the magic that we know about in the films. But as an average human, no, you wouldn't hear much about the magic or tech.
No, exactly. That one's a
random horrific death, however.
I think a 1 because it can happen, because if we're looking at people that are living around the pirates, so we wouldn't, look at somebody that's lived in the middle of Russia would never see a pirate, but about people that are around that kind of world, then you can be struck by disease, a stray cannonball, some weird creature that's come out of the depths, or you get conscripted to join one of the armed forces or something else and get dragged away and put on a ship somewhere. There's lots of nasty things that can happen to you.
It's literally, in the world of pirates, you have all of West Europe. You have all of the west coast of Africa. You have the east coast of the US states. I think you have all of the east coast of South America. It's literally a sandwich of east coast and west coast.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't hear much pirates in Australia, Asia. Yes, there are, but they would rather travel to that sandwich that is there between America and Europe.
Because that's where the trade is between the two continents. So
you've got the Portuguese spice trade, you've got the Royal Navy after pirates, you've got the slave trade going on at that time as well. You've got sugar, rum, etc. So you expect random death there.
Yeah,
anyways, your turn, mate, because that brings Pirates of the Caribbean to a 4.
4. Oh, what have we got left? I'm trying to think.
I've got 1 left within the time
you do that one.
Okay.
Because we've run out of time as well, so last one then. Do the last one.
Okay, well, in that case, if we're going down more of the fantasy route and stuff like that, I'm inclined to go off the rails a bit and do what we did for the sci-fi one and bring it down to a game. I am going to put Resident Evil in.
Okay.
Because it is a fantasy world.
It is more the
horror.
Same Walking Dead as well.
Yeah. So, do you want to do just Resident Evil for now?
Resident Evil. I can't stand The Walking Dead anyway, so Resident Evil.
All right, so Monster Mayhem. I'm inclined to say One, because not all humans know about them.
No, exactly. It's hidden from view for most humans, but if you're around it, it's a
bad day in the office if you're around it. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah.
Everyday survival. 1.
Yeah, because unless you happen to be near Raccoon City or one of the other hotspots, your survival is the same as it would be anywhere else.
Oppressive Power Structures. I'm saying 2 because
I was going to say 2 because of the Umbrella Company.
Umbrella.
Whatever else, just Umbrella. Don't care about any of the others. Just Umbrella is so horrific. They deserve it.
Yeah, they deserve a 2 in themselves, but we can't ignore the other power structures behind Umbrella. We've got the UCC, which we've seen in the African Company in Resident Evil 5.
Yeah.
You've got STARS. You've got BCAA. You've got a lot more agent companies, and you've got the Secret Service for the president, which Leon is a part of. Yeah. It's just, there's so many layers to it because of Umbrella.
Exactly.
So, like you said, because of what Umbrella have done to the world in their franchise, they deserve a 2 alone.
Yeah, exactly. Access to magic tech. To be honest, I'm going to say a 2 because it's all technology that causes it. It's Umbrella and their technology with their gene splicing and their viruses. That's what's causing all the problems in the world, and it's horrific.
Bear in mind, later on in the franchise, especially through 7 and 8, there's magic. Because of some reason, and I hope Resident Evil 9, by the way, I'm looking forward to getting to play. But with Resident Evil 9, I hope, with them going back to Raccoon City, I hope there's more backstory on the magic, because we haven't had much explanation on the magic.
No.
From 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And 9 would be a great way to explain how the magic connects to the virus and the mold. It would be brilliant.
Yeah, definitely.
Random horrific death. I'm going to say 2.
Yeah, because
I was going to say 1.
Around it. Well, the thing is, if you look at a lot of it, so if we look at the movies, for instance, most of the world has succumbed to the zombie virus. So, it can potentially infect everybody across the planet. So, and even if you're not getting infected, there's a chance that someone gets infected near you and they just bomb where you are. So the chance of dying is fairly high.
So that means Resident Evil comes up to a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is our joint first.
Joint first? Well, I suppose we should add it up and have a look at what we've got, because we're at that time.
So, in last place, with the lowest score, I can't believe I'm about to say this, with a 1, it's Lord of the Rings.
It's all because of Second Breakfast. That's what it is.
Yep.
Second Breakfast just makes the difference. And taters. Second Breakfast.
Taters, precious taters.
To taters. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. So that's taters makes the world go round. So taters on your Second Breakfast, and that's what it is.
In penultimate place, we have on 3 points the world of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Then in third last, we have Pirates of the Caribbean with a 4.
Yeah.
In fourth from last, joint is the Monsterverse and Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Then we have, with a 6th, The Witcher. In second place, we have, with a 7, The World of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And joint first, we have Dungeons and Dragons and Resident Evil, both on 8.
The game universes, where they're predominantly from games.
Let's be honest.
Book, and these are the only ones that are actually based on games.
Yeah, but the thing is, we've gone based on screen, what we see through a digital screen, and gaming works through a digital screen. But if we're going through books, The Lord of the Rings would have been a 10. The Witcher would have been a 10. The Game of Thrones, all of them would have been a 10 if we went based off pen and paper.
Not necessarily.
Majority of them.
Because a lot of the Lord of the Rings we base on, once again, Lord of the Rings ended up where it was because we took just the certain time scale. We looked at all of Lord, if we looked further in the past, then that would have changed it. Same with Harry Potter. If we had taken it 50 years before the events of the first book, that was the height of Voldemort's power, and that would be
Yeah.
So
Screwed.
It all depends where we look at, isn't it? That's the thing. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, we've done pretty well there. Let me just see how many we did for the sci-fi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And we did 10 today.
Yeah.
We were too short.
That's because we get sidetracked talking about Lord of the Rings and stuff and that, can't help it.
But either way, this is a nice little thing that's going on at the moment.
Yeah, we had to do it. Since we did the sci-fi, we had to do the fantasy. There's probably many similar ones we can do, but I think that'll do for now. But anyway, we should probably end it there because it's that time. If people want to find you elsewhere on the internet, where do they need to go?
They can go on Twitch to the Welsh Assassin 998 and on YouTube the Welsh Assassin.
And if you want to see the other stuff I do, you can find me on YouTube and It Wasn't My Fault, or on Twitch under the name Nukami. So thanks a lot for joining us. Please join us again soon and subscribe and like and everything else. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.
Bye bye.